Hi, it's Pastor Marleen Griffith-Stull. I'm here with you one last time for our lessons on Lamentations. It's our 5th week of our Lenten study together. And today we're talking about Lamentations chapter 5. Now, it still is a lament, so there's still some very harsh things about what's going on since Jerusalem's fallen to the Babylonians. But one of the things I really want you to take notice of is how long this chapter is versus some of the other chapters. If you just flip through your Bibles real quick and you look, the first 3 chapters are all 66 lines long. Now there's 22 verses, and 66 verses, in those chapters, but each of them is actually only is exactly 66 lines long. And then you get to chapter 4 and it's only 44 lines long. And now you finally get to this chapter 5 and it's only 22 lines long, because it's as if the lament is dying off. It's as if the people of God are finally done lamenting, finally done telling God how terrible things are, and then just trusting that God remembers them. And in fact, in the very beginning of this chapter, we hear that God remembers the people. And remembering is a very important concept in the Hebrew scriptures, or what we call the Old Testament. When we hear remember, it refers to the covenant. The covenant's that promise that God made with the people. First, there's a covenant with all creation after Noah's flood. Then there's a covenant with Abraham that the people shall be, the descendants of Abraham will have land, and they will have prosperity, and they will have blessings, because they will be God's people, and there will be blessings upon anybody who reveres Abraham. And then there's a renewal of the covenant through the kings. There's a promise that King David's descendants will be on the throne, which is why they feel like this is completely thrown out the window, the covenant, because King David's heir, his ancestor, is no longer on the throne now that Jerusalem's been overthrown. But the people trust that God does remember them, that the covenant is not over, that God is still going to do something good. And that's what this lies in, is they're asking God to remember them, to know and honor that they are God's people and God is their God forever. And at the very end of this chapter, we hear the people's prayers for renewal. And they put their trust that only God can renew and restore their life. And in fact, that does happen. It's years down the road, but there is a time when people are brought back from captivity, when they're able to come back and rebuild even the temple in Jerusalem. So today, I want us to focus on how things that are scattered and things that look like they're just broken apart and are useless can be put back together and made into something beautiful. And I thought also, because it's Lent, we would do that in the shape of a cross, because the greatest testimony of God renewing and making new life out of old things that have fallen apart is the story of the cross. It's Jesus' death itself that is transformed and renewed so that you and I might have new and everlasting life through Christ. And so today you're going to need all those little eggshells that you picked out. And if you did not get them and you still need eggshells, I have plenty. And I also have the little crosses. So if you're listening to this and you don't have your craft, just let me know. But you're going to make a beautiful cross out of broken up eggshells, something that normally just gets thrown in the garbage or in the compost. So you're going to need your plain cross, and you're going to need Mod Podge, which I gave to families in a little cup that looks like this. You're also, what I think is the easiest way to do it is to use one of those sponge brushes. Some of you picked them up and many of you had them already, but if you have one of those paint brushes that is a sponge, it works really well to put your Mod Podge in here. But you want to get out all your eggshells first. You want to sit them in front of you so that you're ready to work. And then you want to cover your workspace with something, newspaper or plastic or something, so that you don't make a big mess all over your table or whatever you're working on. And then you're simply going to put your Mod Podge on with your sponge. You're going to fill in the whole cross with Mod Podge. We do also have strings to hang up the crosses, so you might want to put your string through ahead of time before you do your Mod Podge, just so you don't have to be careful. I just did it really carefully with this one and made sure I didn't cover up the hole, but that way you don't cover up the hole at all. But just simply put all your Mod Podge in, fill it up with Mod Podge, and then start putting your eggshells in. There's no way you're going to mess this up. Just lay your eggshells in, let it dry a little bit, and then put another coat of Mod Podge on the top of it. You can put some more eggshells in even than I did, but you want to get a nice thick coat of Mod Podge, and you want to do this in a place where you can let this sit for several hours. And after it sits for several hours, you can hang it up, and I hope every time you look at it, you can remember that God is always in the process of bringing new life even out of death itself. So out of destroyed and useless eggshells, we can make something beautiful that reminds us that Christ gives us life forever. And we can remember too that we are part of this covenant that we hear about in Lamentations. You have been made part of the covenant in your own baptism when you were marked with the cross of Christ. And so you are like the people in Lamentations, even when things are terrible in your life or terrible in the world around you. It's okay. God does not forget you. You are remembered, and life can and will be renewed. So I hope you enjoy your cross, and it'll be a reminder of that. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.